Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I am Jessica Bun Bun.
Here we are with our Dexter Original Sin Season 1, Episode 2 reaction and review. We have now really gotten into Dexter's first case with Miami Metro.
I am so excited about this episode. I really like the premiere, but now I'm just fully invested in it.
I know.
All the way in. And the thing that just turned it around just like that for me was the introduction of possible Brian Moser, the ice truck killer. There was this moment where Dexter was sitting at the table waiting for his friends at Miami Metro to come over, and this guy comes over to the table who looks exactly like Brian and is like, "Is this seat taken?" And Dexter's like, "Yes, it is." And it could easily be seen as somebody being like, "Can I take this chair?
Yeah.
I have other people at another table. I don't have enough chairs." But it feels like it's him. I mean, it looks like him, kind of cold like him. It would be such a cool Easter egg. I mean, from the original series, if we remember, Brian was looking for Dexter for a really long time. And if he saw him here, I mean, he could still be in those beginning phases of, this might be my brother. I'm not sure. I'm going to need to sit down and talk with him more. Maybe he's got a couple of people he thinks might be his brother. I mean, Dexter's not like an uncommon name.
This take blew my mind when you first brought it up because this is one of your greatest takes. It's just, I was watching. Yeah, go ahead. Pat yourself on the back because it's just like, I had no idea that was what was happening here when I watched it the first time.
It might not be. This is just a theory. Tinfoil hat. Oh, I forgot to put my tinfoil hat on.
Okay, you got to put extra on now.
It's on now. Okay, extra on now. It's just a theory.
I just think it's a great theory because it makes a whole lot of sense. We're going to get a lot more into this. Have no fear. But before we do, hit that subscribe button because we are going to be your home base for all things Dexter. We have Original Sin happening right now. We've got Resurrection happening seemingly in June, so that's not that far away, and we don't want you guys to miss any coverage of that as well. And subscribing is a great way to help to make sure you just don't miss out.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. It really helps the channel.
Okay, well, let's get
how
more
are you
into this.
feeling about this?
I feel wonderful about this for a lot of different reasons. It's just, for starters, when I watched this scene, I was clocking that something weird was going on just because there's really fundamentally no need for some sort of innocuous, hey, is this seat taken scene to ever happen. Yeah, this stuff happens in life, and, you know, this show, maybe they want to give us a slice of life, pun intended. But at the same time, I'm just sort of like, okay, to plant something here that's sort of an Easter egg for diehard fans that may add potentially to the story you get in season 1, way down the road with this lore, like, it just makes a ton of sense. And it also, this dude, and I know he's only on screen for maybe a second and a half, like he's the picture in the thumbnail for this video so you can get like another little quick look at him, but it does look a lot like Brian, like a lot.
He looks just like him. And I mean, this show has been really good at casting people who look like the younger versions of themselves. Batista, oh my God, it looks just like him every time I see him. Masuka, oh my God, they've done such a good job so that, you know, it was so quick that they put that in there. And I mean, they did try to thread it together to kind of be like, oh, I have friends now. I can say, no, this seat is taken and you can't take it away from the table, because that's kind of what it seemed like. I think he was probably asking, is the seat taken? Can I sit here? But the way he was asking, I mean, I've had so many people come up to a table where I've had extra seats and be like, is this seat taken? No, cool. Can I have it? Yeah, you can. And that's sort of what it felt like they were trying to push on us as the audience, that maybe this guy was just going to grab this chair. Hey, I have other friends at this other table. You know, is the seat taken? Can I take it? Yeah, you can take it. No, you can't. For Dexter to then be able to say, I have friends. Look at me. I'm just like you.
I will say that when I watched it, my first reaction was that Brian or whoever this was trying to sit there. And I will say this.
I think he was.
As somebody who is not a super regular dining out at these sort of establishments, but likes it every now and then. It's just, I would be really weirded out if I'm just sitting at a table at some establishment and somebody else is just like, hey, I'm going to sit at this place with you, stranger that I've never met at any other point in my life. Maybe it's customary in certain parts of the world. I don't know. It's just for me personally, that doesn't happen. So it's just, there's a couple of just really strange things that exist within this scene. And that's why to have this be Brian, who we know, Dexter's biological history, all of that stuff from season one. It's a great way for Clyde Phillips, who is basically the Dexter guru. I know he wasn't like around for the entirety of the original run of the show, like some of the latter seasons there, but he's really entrenched in the lore of all of it. I don't think he would have cast somebody who looks that much like Brian for no real reason. This is why I'm so on board with your theory here, just because it's too coincidental that this guy would look so much like him.
Oh, it's him. I feel like it's him. Like,
yeah,
yes, he could have been asking to sit there. He could have been asking to take the chair, but I honestly think he was asking to sit there. I think that this is Brian sort of looking for Dexter, because he did say in the original series that he had been looking for him for a long time. And I think he's probably, because it's so early on and Dexter and Brian don't meet up until later on, that Brian has a couple people that he probably thinks could be his brother, and he's not sure, and he's trying to figure it out, and he's, trying to do what he can. And I think this was his opportunity, that where he was going to get some information from this particular person, but because he didn't have a chance, maybe he's moved on to like the 10 other Dexters on his list, and then finally circles back around to him.
It's really important that you frame it in that way, because I know what some like instant response to all of this is going to be, which is if Brian knew that was Dexter, why didn't he say something before season one? That's the reason why here. And
could be.
I think it's the reason. And because I know that there are a certain number of people out there who are going to be the canon police throughout all of Dexter Original Sin, where they're going to be like, this is not accurate with insert episode here. I think
I get it.
They're trying their best, and I think they're going to do as good as they can to sort of make sure the canon makes sense while still adding stuff. It's important to note, and I think I said this in the premiere video, that per the producers, this show is going to illuminate some things that maybe Dexter did not know about through the original run of the show. And so the idea that Brian may have been kind of watching him, looking out for him, hunting down potential Dexters, that makes sense that this show would look at it.
And talk about things that are canon. It was very funny to watch him come in with that veggie tray. I laughed so hard. This episode in particular, at the beginning, I was having a hard time with Patrick Gibson being Dexter. I just couldn't see it. And I'm still having a hard time with it because Michael C. Hall is just Dexter.
Yeah.
But this episode, I felt like he was really getting into this role in a way that I was believing it a lot more than the premiere. I'm fully in.
Yeah, I think I'm getting accustomed to seeing him as Dexter, and I'm getting accustomed to seeing a lot of these other people start to step into these roles a little bit more. Like it's taking some time. It took me a little bit of time to accept the new Deb, for example, but I'm getting there. And I think the thing that I like the most is just that, they're inhabiting these new people, but I think they're allowing these actors to have just a little bit of fun along the way. And they're not just getting stuck, at least to me. You guys may disagree in the comments, and you need to do an Angel Batista impression, because then you're just doing like a Saturday Night Live sketch, and I don't think it's as interesting.
Batista is so good. I do not know who this actor is. I haven't seen him before personally.
Yeah.
He is so good. He is nailing it perfectly. There are some characters on this show that I see them, and they are the younger versions of the characters we've grown to know and love.
Yeah, and it's great that, they're doing a good enough job that I'm not just being constantly distracted by what their modern day iterations are. So I'm liking the characters more in this episode. I will also say I'm liking that we're starting to sort of descend more into classic Dexter formula, which if you're a big time fan of the original, you sort of know there's always kind of a big bad story arc that's going on. And it kind of feels like we're starting in this episode to see some signs of that happening. But then we've also got these little mini arcs that are sort of surfacing. And we
Yeah.
have that kind of turning up here with the presence of this Tony Ferrer individual that Dexter's starting to look a little bit at.
Yeah, and I really, really like that his first sort of case for himself is attached to Angel. I mean,
Mhm.
they had always had a really good relationship through the original series, and I mean, we know how it all kind of came together in the
I
end,
know.
but they did have a really good relationship. So it's nice to see Dexter is here as an intern. He's just starting out, but Angel's here to take him under his wing and really kind of take him out, have some food, not some drinks because he's not of age, but and really be there for him, teach him a little dancing, all this kind of stuff, to then get to this next big kill that's coming up, which is Tony Ferreira, where he's, oh yeah, this is the story of what happened and this busboy that used to be here and what happened to his mom. And, it ended up being too much for him to be able to bear. And we lost two people because of this guy, and man, slipped out of my fingers. I just couldn't ever get him, but Dexter can.
One of the things that I'm very surprised by this far in is that, yeah, Dexter's obviously making some mistakes. The earring situation, we'll see how that
Oh my
plays.
God.
We'll see how that plays out. But it's just sort of, we're seeing a number of mistakes that Dexter is making, but at the same time, he's pretty fully formed with a couple of other strategies in his head,
Yeah.
including the who am I going to potentially target here?
Yeah.
Because Tony Ferrer's not the person Miami Metro is putting like the majority of their attention on at this point, and that's
No.
why he's just sort of sitting back and being like, this is a golden opportunity. And for somebody who really shouldn't know that much as to what they're doing yet, it's both surprising but also kind of sensible that he's focusing on things this way, because he has had, Harry's training, being under Harry, seeing how the police works. Like, he has that sort of ingrained in his head.
I loved that first scene that he was on his first case and he's out there and he's like, oh, it happened like this. And this
Yeah.
is why it splattered like this. And all the cops that have been there forever calling each other over. They're like, this is really basic. This kid thinks he's knowing something, but it's like the ABCs of blood splatter. It was really well done.
I also, just to continue this gush fest for a minute here, I love how when he sees the body, he pictures it in his head as a gift that's just got like a big bow on it. Because
That's classic Dexter.
it is so classic Dexter. And I think the biggest sell for this show, and we talked about this a little bit in the premiere, Paramount just wants franchises because they want money. This is what, big surprise, everybody. Corporations want money.
That's fine. They want money. I
Yeah.
want Dexter. It's a good sell.
But if you're going to do this good sell, you have to actually make it really, really appealing
Yes.
to people who watch the original and people who want to be like, okay, I'm going to watch this, even though I kind of sort of know most of everything that's going to happen. And if you're going to do that, you have to really play into the nostalgia. And I think the visuals, the narration, all of that is working really, really well, even just 2 episodes in.
And just give really good stories. And I think that sort of watching him go through these, learning trials of, even though, yeah, he's got the code, but it hasn't been practiced yet. It's just one person at this point. He's watching him fumble around and really try to figure it out and see how it works in actual practice has been entertaining so far.
Okay, now insert a slight record scratch here.
Uh-oh, it's enough of the good stuff. It's time to drag something.
It is time to drag the flashbacks, the deep flashbacks into the Laura Moser storyline.
Okay, let's
And
get into that.
I liked the premiere reveal that Harry had another kid because that's something we didn't know about.
Yep.
I feel like I got everything I needed to know about Laura Moser in the original show.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything for me because the Dexter is in the title of the show. And yeah, obviously I know Laura is tied to Dexter, but it's just, unless this show, and who knows, maybe they'll find a way to surprise us again here, unless they can really justify with some sort of big surprise why we're getting this big Harry backstory, because this is not a Dexter backstory at this point, because Dexter's just a kid at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't care. I'm not interested. I don't really like the way that it's shot. I feel like it's all really washed out and not all that interesting to look at. It's just, enjoy everything else so much that every time we're going back to this, at least in this episode, I'm just kind of like, okay, can we go back to the relatively near present here, please?
I think if they were going to give us a Harry backstory, I mean, this was going to be it, that it was going to
Yeah.
be about Laura. He met Dexter and Brian as little kids and, starting to try to turn her into his informant. And this is stuff that we already knew from Dexter proper, but I think they wanted to have a Harry story that was going to tie into how he ended up getting Dexter. But I mean, a lot of this has been told to us. Now it's just kind of being shown to us. I would have really liked to have seen more Harry, maybe part of this Dexter case of how he got him that maybe wasn't this, because we already have an idea of how this all came together and how he ended up with Dexter in the first place.
You have to be, I think, really careful about these sort of deep flashbacks and how you tell stories that have kind of sort of already been told. Like, this is what made Better Call Saul, which, I think we both love, but what made
so good.
What made Better Call Saul so good is that, we know the story of Breaking Bad, but you're able to sort of focus in on a character who never really had that much of a spotlight in Breaking Bad other than some assorted scenes. So you're able to really see a bunch of stuff you hadn't seen before. But because Dexter is the main character of both the original and the prequel, to then also focus on Harry, who is a big part of the original and tied to Dexter. Like, to me, maybe it would work a little bit better if you did some backstory on some other characters in Original Sin, where rather than go that far into the past, maybe we kind of sort of get a Batista storyline, like what's going on with him. But then again, this is where things get really, really tricky, and we can do these mental gymnastics where it's sort of like, supposedly all of this is being told through Dexter's point of view, so we have to have a little bit of plausible believability that this is all stuff that Dexter himself actually knows, and he wouldn't know something about what's going on with Batista away from him.
I almost wish that these flashbacks are when, and I know we're going to get there, but that they had started with when he ended up actually getting Dexter and how that was for him. Because that's the part of Dexter's history and Harry's history that's missing. Like, we know later on in life, he's helping to, let's teach him hunting. Let's try to teach him the code and all that. But when he's first meeting him and he's still so young, I want to see where Harry starts to notice things are different with Dexter, when he starts to try to help him get through these things, because, we know that he lost a son. He's willing to do anything to help this particular son because he feels guilt of what happened with his first son. And I think if we had started kind of in that spot, it would have worked a bit better. I want some Harry backstory that I just don't know.
Yeah, because I think we both like Christian Slater.
Love Christian Slater.
Like, it would be great if he has an opportunity to cook and do some really interesting things here. But we kind of got to color a little bit outside the lines and give us something that's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we've hated on the deep flashback story here, there are 3 personal things that I just very much enjoyed that are all incredibly stupid but meaningful to me.
Okay.
Number 1, I love a good Cubano sandwich. I would also order 2 Cubano sandwiches.
I know you love them.
Listen, one of the best sandwiches. Any place I go, I'm desperately searching out. I can't even talk because I'm so thinking about Cubanos so now. Much. 2, I love dancing. That whole scene was very endearing. Watching Dexter try to dance, very endearing. I love dancing. That's the thing. I almost took a dance class in college. It just didn't fit into my schedule. I still watch Dancing with the Stars and irrationally get way too emotionally invested in people.
You were way so invested this season.
I was very invested this season. I was way worse when Jason Mraz was on it. I'm actually glad they didn't cast someone I cared about as much on this past season, because it was not good for my health. Finally, the donuts. I'm a big donut guy. Dexter. I was about to say, Dexter, you can be my friend for the donuts, but then I was like, oh yeah, Dexter's a killer.
Oh, no.
I don't want him to be my friend for the donuts. But
no, I love donuts too. I'm somebody who has celiac, so unfortunately most donuts that I have now are just little dense cakes. However, when you find that gluten-free donut that hits, oh my goodness.
Do I want there to be more clues as to a greater big bad at this point? Sure, but at the same time, this is a 10-episode season.
Mhm.
Showtime has done us a little bit of a favor. They've dropped episode 2 and episode 3 on the same day, so we're
Yep.
going to have an episode 3 review up here pretty soon.
Yep.
So we at least kind of know that we're building towards something, it feels, from this episode.
Absolutely.
But that's what we got on Dexter Original Sin, Season 1, Episode 2. But hit that subscribe button now so you guys don't miss any other Dexter coverage. And you can support us further by joining our Patreon. We've got a link in the description below where we have exclusive Dune Prophecy videos over there as we prepare for the finale. That was renewed recently for a Season 2 as well.
I know, such a good show.
I know. I'm so excited. Well, thank you so much to our patrons for your support, and we'll see you here next time.